So this video is going to be about the possibility of Coach Tim Duncan, former San Antonio Spurs great and considered the greatest power forward, but I do him one better. I think Tim Duncan is one of the 10 greatest NBA players ever. And to me, arguably the most underrated player ever, in the sense that, in all due respect to the late great Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan got 5 rings too, went to 6 finals. He's multiple league MVP, multiple finals MVP, all-star, etc. And he played for the Spurs, and he was low-key and mild-mannered. And he wasn't flashy. And if he had a talk like Kevin Garnett or something, and he had what he had, his stats would be bigger. But it should be about what you accomplished. But anyway, that's just a little side note. But he doesn't get his due. But that's another story. But Popovich turned the game over the other night against Charlotte, and they won. Could Tim Duncan be a head coach? It would be interesting. Most great players do not make great head coaches, i.e. Jerry West, i.e. Magic Johnson. Or they struggle in ownership, i.e. Michael Jordan, i.e. Isaiah Thomas. There are exceptions. Bill Russell was a player coach, did great. Same thing with Lenny Wilkens. Same thing with Larry Bird. They did quite well. Casey Jones, who gets slept on, did great with Boston. But a lot of them, it doesn't. Well, you can make the case for Billy Cunningham with the Philadelphia 76ers, because when I get into my basketball talk, but for every one of those, you have the Magic Johnson situation. It just didn't register. Most of the times, the best coaches are either guards who are like what I call third tier or role play guys. Those are the ones who turn into being halfway decent. I.e. like Steve Kerr's situation, or Rudy Tomjanovich. They're not first tier cats, the specialists, but they played enough role. Rudy was a better player, I think, than Steve Kerr, but he won't be getting he ain't no Hall of Famer. He ain't gonna be but it was that he did, he could coach. So when you think about certain guys, they tend to make, transition to being head coach. But Tim Duncan, my old man, how would he work in the locker room? How would he work in the modern day context? Very compelling. I'm gonna tell you like this: in the 2000s, Shaq was the only player that I dug in the early 2000s more than Tim Duncan. So that's how high I hold Duncan. And when I root early part, Shaq and Kobe together, it was always like I like to see them win, but Duncan was always in the way, and you had to respect Tim Duncan's game. I mean, the big fundamentalist Shaq called him, he's always been the truth to me. My only issue with Tim Duncan is doing this ad for Mike Doomberg. I rolled him sideways on that. But as far as what he represented as a player and what he carries himself, I got nothing but much respect and love for Timmy D. Tim Duncan's always been the truth to me. But anyway, as a coach, who knows? Let's be real. The Spurs can't get no worse. I see Pop is at his ends with this squad because they're not really his style. They're very finesse and soft. So if a player of Tim Duncan's caliber come along, even though deep down I wish he could still play, because I know LaMarcus Aldridge, he couldn't carry Tim Duncan's dreadlock now. He couldn't carry none of it. Duncan was something else. And I miss his playing. Spurs are missing a Tim Duncan type from being a legit 6 or 7 seed contender. That's really the sad part, but that's another story. But anyway, I like the thought of Tim Duncan being on the sidelines. I really do. I think he could. There's another side of his character that people don't see. There's a lot of sides to him. So anyway, that's my thoughts and takes about Coach. Could it be Coach Tim Duncan? Would he coach the San Antonio Spurs, or was this just a one-off? But anyway, it makes for an interesting conversation about one of the game's greatest players ever. And I don't use that term loosely, but he's one of the all-time greats. So could he make it as a head coach? Jury will see. What if Popovich steps down? Would it be Tim Duncan's next domain? But anyway, give me your thoughts and takes about it, how you feel about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and the bell rings in the video. Have a good day. Peace.